I had a wonderful experience with them in Camp Achilles, going through, the African Mayafa workshop. And when I went through that and we was thinking about this experience, I was like, we got to get them onto this platform. So I'm looking forward to just learning today too. I don't even know what they're going to share, what pockets they're going to get into. The reason why we having this conversation, just to kind of get us into it, is because over the last year or so, H.O.L.L.A particularly really been focused on what we call in the war. And that is nothing that we made. We stand on the shoulders of Professor Smalls, Dr. Francis Cress Westland, Baba Sekou, Asada Shakur, Eddie Ellis, Fannie Lou Hammer. Many people, Harriet Tubman, have talked about Frederick Douglass, how we got here, what we've been going through since we've been here. So when we talk about the war, we talking about an old story of violence. Some people say 5,000 years, 7,000 years. Definitely talking about historical replications of cycles of violence that snatch Black people, African people, from their cosmological stories, from our culture, from our land, the killing of ancestors, right? And we talk about how this war and white supremacy is maintained, right, by the development of enslavement and the system of enslavement and the system of colonization. And for that produces, at least what we call in like 4 intersection layers of violence that keeps the war going on in our life to this day. And those 4 intersections of violence is the historical violence. And we give a shout out to our elder, Dr. Joy DeGary Leary, our elder, Dr. Maria Yellow Horse Braveheart, who really talk about how historical violence, highlights how pain is passed on from generation to generation. It also highlights a spiritual hurt when people harm is not recognized and it's not acknowledged, and how that is a generational understanding of hurt. And then we talk about, institutional violence or structural violence, or what our Black feminists call interlocking systems of violence. It ain't just the criminal justice system. It ain't just the educational system. It ain't just the healthcare system. It ain't just employment. We talking about systems that are built to maintain colonization and enslavement, that's built on dehumanization of Black people, dehumanization of formerly incarcerated people, of queer people, of people from the margins. And then we've been living in this for 5 to 10,000, 20,000 years, 7,000 years, depending on how far our spirit's consciousness understands the war. But we've been living in it for long enough that we now embody this in our interpersonal relationships. We build our houses like how the Christians or how white supremacy build their houses. We teach curriculum how they teach curriculum. When we do our rituals, we say out their ancestors' name. We don't say out our ancestors' names. And then we internalize that in our psyche. When we think about our hair, when we think about ourselves, when we think about our other Blackness in the streets or in other places, whether they're impacted by drugs, whether they are bad mothers, like we have negative images about our own selves. So the war is in us too, right? So, H.O.L.L.A has been trying to build our capacity to fight the war, and to understand it too, because sometimes fighting is just saying, like, let me put that in my spirit. Let me understand what that pain felt like. Let me digest that. And these brothers and sisters, I know they're gonna take us there, because when we went through the experiences, you got a chance to digest, to smell, to feel the separation, to feel the uncertainty in your bodies, right? Like, what's gonna happen next? That's what historical trauma feels like. That's what it shows up when we are like so separated from our culture, and we in situations in our home and our blocks, and we just are responding to what's there because we also just been taken away from some other stuff. So with that being said, H.O.L.L.A want to open the floor to our guests, and let them introduce themselves a little bit more. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for helping us share light and wisdom on this conversation about healing historical trauma. And we really appreciate what you're going to share today. And we ask, let me take a step back, because we usually bring in our ancestors in an intentional way. And I kind of speed past that. So what I'm going to say is that, we ask that, you know, that the words that we already said and that the energy that we already shared, that energy be blessed, that it be carried by ancestors that come in a good way. And going forward, you know, we want to bring in our energies from the East, right? We want to bring in our energies from the South. We want to bring in our ancestors from the West. We want to bring in our energies and ancestors from the North. And we also want to acknowledge the grounds that we all may be watching, planting, holding us right now. Wherever you may be at in this cosmos, we want to give thanks to the ground. And we also want to give thanks to the cosmos. And we want to give thanks to each direction, the ground and the cosmos, for their existence, right? It's because of their existence that we exist. And we want that existence to be present today to guide our words. And with that being said, we want to pass it to our guest to introduce himself a little bit more. Thank you.
Word up. Ashe, thank you.
Yes. Give thanks. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't even know what else needs to be said, brethren. Let me digest that. You know what I'm saying? Just go ahead and drop the mic right there. You know what I mean? We could, I guess we come in to sprinkle a little bit. You know what I mean? Because it sounds like everything is already primed. I'm Brother SIZWE, co-creator of SPIRITWURX. It's my wife, MIZAN.
Yeah, peace everybody. Bless.
And I would say we kind of met through the war. I would say the war probably is why we're married, and we knew that this was one of the answers to the war, was create a strong family, right? In addition to all the work we were doing, we was working with many youth. That's kind of where you met us. I was actually a product of Camp H.O.L.L.A. I mean, since we're talking about H.O.L.L.A, I met Jen Reich when I was 13. And didn't think that I would come back to do the work. But when we're thinking about seeds, planet, intentions, like I probably didn't see Jen Wright for another maybe 15 years after my last Camp H.O.L.L.A. But to come back, work with Flourish Agenda, which was leadership excellence at the time, you know, creating curriculums, facilitating circles, that was like almost like the training ground. You know how they send folks to boot camp? Like that was our boot camp for liberation. You know what I mean? And we was literally physically training, because you know the young people were strong, so you got to be strong as you know doing this work to even just match energy, match wit.
Look, shout out to Sean Irving. I would just say when I first met him, my first day interviewing for Freedom School was the first question was, "Are you ready to liberate the hearts and minds of our people?" I was like, well, hell yeah, that's where we at. That's what we doing. That's the work. And so that was how we approached youth work. That's how we approached youth development. That's how we approached our partnership. That's how we really approach, you know, like you say, the solutions to this war, and really just building, you know, our organization. Our organization is called SPIRITWURX. We're based here out of Oakland, West Coast, and our work is really around inspiring intergenerational wellness and racial healing. And that's looked like many different forms over the last years. We're coming up to our 20-year anniversary of being in effect. And we've had many different forms, from a homeschool to doing youth programs to doing camps, retreats. Now we do a lot of work with families and professional development with organizations, and really similar to the framework that you already shared, like we really kind of think about the war and even the solution, like what does our oppression look like, but also what does our liberation look like on 4 different ways. And a similar model that you talked about around the historical and the structural and the spiritual components. And the internal.
I was going to say that too.
I was like, that sounds about right.
Like I said, it all resonates. Even though we on both coasts, opposite of each other, even though, you know, this is my first time really talking to you probably since Camp Keeley and even meeting the brethren on the line. You know, it's just kind of it's that resonance. So I think that's kind of really what people are feeling. And sometimes we always don't have the words to articulate. I know you were talking about this, but it's also beyond words. It's a vibration, as we know. Yeah. It's a frequency. It's an intention. Yeah. It's that. I think that's felt more so than words most often. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I think just to offer that up to your healing, you know what I mean? I appreciate the intentions around getting our names correct, but also be gentle with yourself, because it's the intention in itself that's providing the healing and the awareness. You know what I mean? Some folks is moving out here without even taking that step, moving, you know, just destructively, so to speak. You know what I mean? That mindfulness, that consciousness around, okay, this is how I want to approach and live the life, kind of speaks to, like MIZAN was going to speak to, what we like to call the 3 eyes. And I know this concept isn't nothing new, but this is one concept that we picked up along our journey that resonates with us, right? And it's similar to what you were saying. It's that internal work first. Let me get my internal self. You know thyself, right? Like, who am I, right?
What do we value? What do we love? Why do we love what we love? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. On that cosmic shit that you was talking about, though, you know what I'm saying? Like, beyond even some of these structures of this planet. Like, who am I at the core of me? You know what I'm saying? What mission have my ancestors put me on? You know, how do I need to take care of my body? What, you know, like, everyone might not need to be a vegan. I might need to eat some red snapper every once in a while. So it's really about getting clear with who you are and being comfortable with who you are. You know what I mean?
Red snapper, baby. Talk that red snapper.
You know what I'm saying? Look, you know, whatever it may be. You know what I mean? Them oxtails. You know, I know y'all on the East Coast. You know what I'm saying? Jamaican food, Caribbean food. But with that being said, taking that realization and taking that energy into your relationships that you build, and that's the second eye, the interpersonal, right? Like, how do we connect? How do I want to be in relationship with people? You know what I'm saying? How do I create my boundaries? How do I show up authentically, right? And that has to do with that initial work that you're doing on self. And then, you know, through these relationships, we begin to build institutions. Knowing, like, our first institution is family. I heard you speaking, like, you know, I gotta say peace to the queen before we continue. You know what I mean? Like, making sure family's straight.
I just have to say peace to our children.
You know what I'm saying? Making sure family's straight. You know what I mean? So it's just like we're looking at institutions, like, whether we want to transform them or destroy them. You know, we always got to look at family first. That's practice. That's like our practice, right? How are we building our first institution, which is our family? And like you say, internal, interpersonal, institutional, because everything else, in my opinion, is kind of a reflection of that. And that fourth eye would be our ideology, kind of like our worldview, kind of how are we viewing, you know, the surround. Like you say, because it's easy growing up in the work, when we first coming into knowledge. I'm gonna speak for me, coming into knowledge, coming into the work, you know, coming into that purpose. I got a crew now. You know, we want to go smash the system. We want to go smash the institution, right? But even by smashing that institution, some of those poisons that we're dealing with on an interpersonal level, on an internal level, they don't disappear with the institution. You see what I'm saying? So I just think sometimes the work outside of ourselves is easier because it's harder to deal with self. So I always have to be mindful of all 3 of the levels, all 4 of those levels at all times. Like, how are we really giving attention to all of those? I used to say it all the time. Like, it's easy for me to hold a brother circle, so to speak. Like, that's hard work. It's harder to hold my sons, right? Because they get to see me every day. They get to see the ugly me. They get to see the lazy me. They get to, when I go to circle, yo, I'm off my sea moss smoothie, maybe my cappuccino, you know what I'm saying? We up in this thing, right? I got a good hot half hour. I'm giving these youngsters everything, and I'm going to be a superstar, right? But then when I get home, am I present? You know, does that transfer over to the work I'm doing? Because really, that's kind of, I think, where we can often missteps in this liberation work.
And like, just a disclaimer, like, you know, when he comes home, he's still a good guy.
But those are the content. I was just reading Brother Kaba Hawata Kaini, Spirituality Before Religion. Mm-hmm. Spirituality is unseen science, and science is seen spirituality, right? And that was just talking about like, you know, how, you know, Kush, you know, Kemet talked about, you know, in just ancient Africa, like a lot of stories that we had 7 parts of our soul. And one of the parts is talking about the consciousness of the consciousness. You know, so I think that's kind of what I hear too. Like, you know, it's good that we get that affirmation. You're still doing your job, but we trying to get to our higher self. We trying to, you know, the biggest room is the room for improvement. So when your consciousness is unconscious, it's just tapping you like, yeah, you good, but you might got some more room to get gooder. You might got some more room in there. Like you could be a little bit sharper there, and you could be a little bit more studious there. You could be a little bit more clearer there. So you need both of that. You need that love, but you also need that internal consciousness kicking it to you too. You know, that internal consciousness giving it to you.
No doubt. We were right over here talking about, you know, I was like, why am I feeling so anxious right now? Like I have to like have my own moment, right? Remember, listen to my breath in this moment. Like what is my body telling me? What is my heart telling me? What is my mind telling me, right? And tune in, right? A lot of times, like we talk a lot about, you know, the distractions that come around us. You know, that there's a lot of input that we get in this world, especially with social media and like, you know, these supercomputers in our pocket, aka our phones. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of information. There's a lot that we get to, you know, we are privy to, that we hold. And sometimes we got to like filter through all of that so we can get to that consciousness of ourselves. Like, what does my voice say? What does my voice need? What does my body, what does my spirit need and want in this moment? And why, right? And so that's all part of that same process around just, you know, tuning into that consciousness that we call it the God consciousness. It's like our capacity, our ability to tune into like that source of who we are, like on the clearest level, right? To then move us towards, you know, being the best version of ourselves, our highest self. You know, that is the work every single day, no doubt. And we all got room for improvement. Like we're not sitting up here like we got it all together all the time. Like I say, we just had a moment. I had a moment. I had to take one. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, we're human.
So many moments every day, man. I know I do, man. So I definitely, I don't know what people be seeing or how people be trying to socialize with me, but I take that back fast. Don't do me like that because I'm in process. But I think one thing that's beautiful that y'all kind of, every time I met y'all, I only met y'all, like you said, like a couple of times, but I think Black love is definitely one of the best weapons against the war. And y'all kind of said it how you started, like that's how we got together, then you walked through the eyes and got to that family institution. But like you said, it's also a vibration. I just love feeling and seeing Black love too. So I just want to throw that to, because I know we all are in process and journeying. So I don't know what's going on in y'all life, but I just want to let y'all know that it's like the Black love of it and the love of the journey together and loving each other. You know, we just need more of that, and we want to give our shade to your life and to your struggles and to the beauty you give into all of us. And sometimes we just need it. Even when, like I say, even when we good fathers, we need someone to be like, yeah, you good. When we good mothers, we just, even, you know, when y'all good lovers and loving and representing Black love for the people, some days it be hard. I know I be having hard with my partners, and we've been together 20 years. So take this for on some of those moments there, and hopefully those moments are few in between. But I want to go to that love part there. So before I go there, do y'all want to say anything else about historical trauma? Because I want to ask y'all, like how does love fight historical trauma? But is there anything else you want to add on to historical trauma? And particularly Black love, like whatever, you know, y'all talk about how y'all, you know, what y'all think Black love is as a fight, Because I feel it right now too, man. I just like how y'all touching each other, how y'all feeding off each other. You know, you can feel it. You know, we know spirit, we know vibration. So I just want y'all to have some space in y'all, but also teach us with some of that too, you know?
Hey, give thanks.
Well, I think it's funny because I think that's why we intentionally changed our tagline to wellness on the word sound power. You know what I mean? Because we deal a lot in the trauma, and especially like a lot of our work was trauma informed care. You feel me? So just kind of dealing with this concept of trauma
or intergenerational trauma.
Intergenerational trauma.
Right.
It kind of I'm glad that we shifting. So I guess what I'm gonna say is we're just gonna go ahead and shift to the love now, because we know about the trauma. We gonna see it when we press stop on this Zoom, you know what I'm saying, and go out into our daily routine, we're going to see the trauma, we're going to feel it, we're going to be reminded of some unresolved things we have inside of us. But, you know what I'm saying, when you're thinking about how does love combat, I think, you know, like you say, what's the opposite of fear, right? Love. I think a lot of us is moving through fear and scarcity. So it's like love and abundance and possibility. You know what I mean? Like, we got to start imagining what things is going to look like that we can't see, King. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, we keep seeing these structures, but what are some structures that we can imagine that ain't been imagined yet? Yeah. And start creating those. So honestly, I think that's what it's going to take. And I'm not trying to talk too abstract, but I think that's kind of what love creates. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, you know, the Sankofa experience, the experience Sankofa Living Museum was birthed out of love. It was birthed out of man, how do we really get our people to feel this? Like that Middle Passage workshop. And I want to say, you know, definitely crediting Anthony Browder. That was the first person.
Say more about that experience. They don't know about it, so say more about it too.
So I mean, honestly, I'm gonna paraphrase, but in essence, we call it the Middle Passage. Anthony Browder actually has a different name for it. It was something around economics, but in essence, you're blindfolded, and you go through a timeline of African history, and it brings you all the way to present day. So,
and when we say go through a timeline, it's like because you're blindfolded, then you get to use your other senses, like sights and smells and sounds and movement, like physical movement, to be able to embody and like awaken your DNA memory around when sounds, for sure, right? So, like, what does it sound like when somebody's cracking a whip? Like, you know, that's a sound that like viscerally has a reaction in your body when you're feeling that, right?
What did drums sound like on the continent?
What did happy village might sound like, you know what I'm saying? All of those pieces, right?
And then, you know, juxtaposing that with kind of maybe the sounds of modern day. Like, what are the sounds of our hood? You know what I mean? And I think that was the piece that really stuck with folks, looking at how, yo, this is insane, some of the parallels. Yeah. And, you know, this is one narrative. You know what I mean? There might be someone out there, it's like, well, not everyone was on the Middle Passage. I understand that, but that's not the conversation I'm trying to have here in this particular moment. We know that there's many narratives, and we know that even going back to that point on trauma, if all we see is that Middle Passage narrative, it's hard to even see past that sometimes. Yeah. Even to go further back into our history to understand how powerful things were. Like, what was it before colonialization? What were we doing, like, you know, many, many years ago? Like, you know, and I think that goes back to what I feel. What I feel is we was loving each other. Yeah. What I feel is I don't think we was really just beating our children like they ain't got no purpose in life. You know what I'm saying? I don't think we was adopting a lot of those behaviors, you know what I mean, that were forced upon us. You know what I mean? I don't even know if we was raising our voice, King. I don't even know if we was really yelling like that unless we was really trying to communicate across the land, because it's harmony. You know what I mean? I don't know if you ever hear like my Habesha brothers and sisters communicate, but there's a certain vibration in their tonality. You know what I mean? Like when you listen to like Eritreans or like Ethiopians communicate and speak, you know, even like Medu Netter, you know what I mean? There's a certain vibration from the tongue. Yeah. And I'm just curious what kind of languages were we tapping in? What kind of rituals were we tapped into? What kind of things? Because I think a lot of this war began when we forgot. And I don't know exactly what we forgot, but we forgot something. And I think this whole thing is getting back, is trying to remember as much as we can.
To remember, like to put it back into our bodies, right? To
you know what I'm saying?
That, you know, that's actually the impetus for what we've created, the Experience Sankofa Project. So that is, you know, it was birthed out of and inspired by the work of Anthony Browder and the workshop that we did, the Middle Passage that we just explained. And what we've done now is take it to the next level, where we've created basically a timeline where folks get to walk through now using all of our senses, right? Sights, sounds, smells, textures, to be able to walk through a timeline that we've created, these sets, to be able to remember, right? Bring it back into our bodies about our greatness, about our antiquity, about the power of, you know, the original woman, right? Starting from that very, very first place, like first humans, right? Here on planet Earth, right? and that being some of our legacy and that we step into the rest of the world through, right? And so our Experience Time Hopeful project is specific from the continent to present day Oakland, because what we do is tell a story from that legacy of ancient antiquity all the way through our Middle Passage, and then to the space of what is post-slavery, what's Reconstruction looking like, and then that Black migration. Like there's between 1919 and 1970, that's when hella Black folks moved out west, right? And so a lot of folks were moving west or up to Canada, one, to get away from the racial violence, the war that existed, but also to be able to shift and create new opportunities. We had an imagination. If there's land, what do we do, right? So be able to, what do we want to build and create? And so our story tells a little bit of that, highlighting the work of folks here in West Oakland, Harlem of the West, through the legacy of the Black Panthers, and many of y'all know about the impact of hip hop, and even the impact of crack on Oakland, right? And then bringing us all the way to present day, what COVID has done, what this 2020 racial uprisings has done, and it really leaves us off into the future around what does a Black future look like. And so it's an opportunity for folks to be able to use our imagination to create what we want. What's our responsibility? What's our capacity? What's our imagination? What's our wanting? Using all those 4 eyes that we had talked about earlier, but also really grounded in love. And so this experience, we houses about a 2.5 hour experience where we have time for folks to open. Then people can walk through the museum at their own pace, and then we have time to debrief. And the other part that I want to just highlight is that what is very different about our museum is just not just artifacts and the sights and smells, but it's also you will meet your ancestors along the way, right? We have folks who are embodying different ancestors. We call them activators, who are activating that ancestor along the timeline. So you're gonna see the original woman standing there in her space, working the fire. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna see the Asante Henna sitting on a throne, in West Africa, right? You're gonna see folks on the slave ship or on the auction block, right? And what does that do when you're a human being, when you see other human beings in this space? And so that's really the other component about this work, is that we were really intentional about how do we reawaken our capacity to see and hear and feel each other, so that we build empathy, we build solidarity, and we really do get down to this process of intergenerational wellness, not intergenerational trauma, but how do we move that to the wellness space, right? So that we can really do this racial healing that is necessary for us in this world.
And like you say, wellness is just a placeholder. You know what I mean? That's the hot topic for right now. Yeah. Like whatever, we got to create whatever the next word is going to be. Like we thought about wellness, and now we look around, everything is wellness. It could be sold now. So we understand that, our wellness is actually profitable now.
Right.
So we actually got to be mindful of that, and just make sure that we're mindful of always creating, not so much the next, like we got to keep looking for something, but creating what we know
is right for us.
Exactly.
This help us sustain. That'll help us thrive.
Exactly.
Us as a people, us as Black folks, us as human beings,
exactly.
Us as families. You know what I'm saying? Just
because I think honestly, especially, and the reason why you hear me mindful about it is I feel like in this current world we living in, we get too caught up over ideology and terminology sometimes. You know what I mean? And when really it's at the essence, like, what is it? Love? Let's just deal with love then.
Yeah.
How does love show up for you? This is kind of how I want to be loved. This is kind of how I create through love. You know what I'm saying? This is because, going back to why you were saying, let's try to be at our highest vibration.
Yeah.
Let's not do things from even our most, anger. That's not our highest vibration. Even though it's effective, we can harness that energy. But how do we really move from even a vibration higher than that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And really start creating from a space of,
pure love.
Pure love, imagination, inspiration.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think a lot of that, quite frankly, I think our ancestors had an advantage because they was connected to the earth, which also inspired us to, purchase this land in Shasta. We purchased 20 acres in near Mount Shasta in a city called Weed recently. And it was to build a retreat center. You know what I mean? It was to build a culturally based healing space where we could kind of just continue the work we do.
Mm-hmm.
engaging the
y'all, man. We trying to get a museum. We've been trying to get land for the longest for a retreat center to get that some herbal. So it's in the cosmos. It's in the cosmos. We trying to all put it back together. We trying to Saruj Mayat. We trying to restore our culture, restore ourselves.
It's funny, man, because I think, and it's gonna sound real simple, but sometimes all you gotta do is say yes, King, and really just mean that yes, though. Like, just say yes. Like, let the universe know.
Yes, we ready. Yes, I'm worthy. Yes, we got this.
But vibrate that yes, though. See, that's the piece. You gotta vibrate the yes. It's real, man. As crazy as it sounds, I know.
It might be like some wet
I know we West Coast.
It's all good. It's all good. It's science of mind manifestation, y'all.
It's real, man. You got to put in the work. You just can't vibrate it and sit still. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, but even as you're working and as you're moving through it, you have to vibrate the yes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to forever spin your wheels. You know what I'm saying?
And that's that part around the internal work. I know we're talking a lot, but that's that part. Like, this the internal process. Am I worthy? Am I powerful to be able to hold this retreat space and create a space for our people? Hell yeah. Mm-hmm. Right? And to be honest, like, we work through our own process. We're like, dang, we just bought a house. We just bought a land. Like, are we worthy of this to be able to create this spaces? Yeah, we are. Right? And we know that folks are struggling. We know that that's not everybody's way, but we know, but what we do know is that with the resources and the land that has been, that we have acquired, that we are gonna do the best by our people for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is the purpose. We want to bring healing to our folks. It's not just like our little play space. You know what I'm saying? It's like, we really want to be able to, make a contribution to our people to help this process around healing that we know is necessary for us to take it to the next level. Yeah.
And like you said, I just think it's real, man. It's getting focused on what it is that you want, man. I think that's, we focus a lot on what we don't want. And like I said, I'm speaking from experience. It's easier for me to tell you what I don't want. Like, we used to do this thing called a compliment circle, you know what I'm saying, with the young people. And you could imagine, you tell a young person to cap on, yo, go bag on this person or go roast this brother. It's easy. Give this brother or sister a compliment. Yo, that's that we haven't, for one, learned effectively in the circles. I'm not speaking that's not a blanket statement. I'm saying, from what I've seen and experienced, it's hard to give and receive compliments. Easier
to not just give, receive too, you said, right?
Receive too, bro. Like, some folks, you know what I'm saying? It's hard to just say thank you. It's like, oh, bro, bro, whatever, you doing your thing. Oh, bro, no, I'm not. I'm just, nah, stop right there. Just, instead of saying thank you, give thanks. I received that. Similar to what you just said right now. I'm gonna acknowledge this black love that I see on this Zoom. Right? Like, I had to receive that. I could have been like, this brother, don't put me on blast, man. But I'm gonna go ahead and receive that in this moment, because it's gonna make me more powerful when I just accept the good. We gotta accept the good, man. We always accepting the negative. Sometimes we just gotta accept the good in our life, right? And just be okay with that.
Also need some black love too, man. I always need black love. So I'm just also calling for, like you said, I'm just calling and just acknowledging what I want and more in my life too, man. And sometimes it's about just like you said, just acknowledging it somewhere before it can get to you all the way. And also acknowledging there so that what's in you already can wake back up. And that also goes to my question too, like, because I know this is feedback for me too, because I be in wellness and trauma. I be in all of them. Like, I be trying to get the wellness, but everybody in my block, my family, myself, we be in trauma bags sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes I'm at my altar now, I be in wellness, but like, I be in a lot of things where, like, we journey, the Gen Rights talk about radical healing. We talk about the process of healing. We add and build on that and talk about the journey, and like, it ain't only we got to create ecologies and culture that is in process with community that's intergenerational that understand that, but it's like, what's the emotional, like you said, what's the emotional process through those moments, and how do you get through one emotional moment from the next emotional moment? It's one thing to create, like, yo, we about to do 3 years together, but like, people be arguing, people be having internalized trauma. People, that ain't gonna be a 3 years, even if we have all the right curriculum, the right things, the right ideas. That don't mean somebody's stuff might not get stolen. That don't mean like something might not happen. So like, what's gonna be the emotional journey? How we gonna be able to hold people and yourself too, right? Then I'm going to like my family. You know, this historical trauma thing is really personal to me because, you know, I think Black love is super important. I love my family. I'm from Mississippi. I heard y'all talk about, you know, the Great Migration. That's us. I just went down to Mississippi the other day, and I be feeling, and I love Blackness, and I love Black people. I be feeling sometimes my family I love, they don't be loving Blackness. And I be feeling attacked, man. I be like, damn, how do I love you? You my auntie, you my wife, you my mom, you my son. This don't be just distant family. I'm like the only person that ain't Christian or something. So that's, you know, it's like, you know, so it's like I be tripped up with like wellness, trauma, healing, historical trauma, like love, cause like we all love each other, but I'm loving Black love, but I be seeing you saying like that ain't love. I mean, you be telling me something else is love. So I'm like, you know, that's another reason why I say what y'all doing, like when Blackness could come together, when our people could come together in a certain way, because I feel like our love don't be in our culture all the time. I think we all love each other as Black people, but it be, and I'm not gonna say anything like, you know, urban is our culture. You know, everything in America is our culture, but it, like you said, we got so many vibrations to our culture. Sometimes these things be some of the vibrations that come from our trauma that be our culture. You know, like the block is our culture. You know, jail, prison, that's our culture. Hallways is our culture. The church is our culture. But that's after we done had so much stuff impact that becomes our culture. Sometimes that don't be about Black love. Sometimes it be, to me, and my spirit, like as I be trying to love Black love, my things that love me, my people, my family that love me, it feel like the love is taken away from Black love. It's like, yo, the love, we got to go away from Black love. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what I want to just throw at y'all. Like, what do y'all got cousins? You got aunties? You got uncles? You got families? Do y'all just never go to their house? Like, yo, we can't sage, we ain't going there. Like, how do we love our families that's from Mississippi, Louisiana, our elders, where they have young people, but also whatever our consciousness or content, and I know we all ain't there. We didn't arrive. We ain't nobody. Maybe we wrong. So I'm not saying I'm right and they wrong. I'm just saying, like, whatever we talking about here, this war and trying to get back to our story, I feel like some of my love and my family be like, fuck that story. I ain't trying to forget that culture, forget Sarouj Mayat. I'm trying to call out and like, that be hurting my heart. I be like, it'd be hard for me to stay balanced these days. I feel like I'm getting attacked. So I need help. I don't want to be attacking my family. I don't want my family attacking me. Give me some help on that one. Isaac, you know what I'm talking about, Isaac. You know what I'm talking about.
Hey, you are not alone. Let me just tell you, you're not alone. Like, you know, everybody finds a different vibration. What we were actually, all right, so this summer, we held our first, unofficial retreat up in near Weed, but with our family, right? We had, you know, my parents, both my dad, my stepmother, and my mom, my stepsister and her husband. My brother came from France. Like they're all like everybody's living in different places. Sway's parents, who live in Southern California. My niece, who was in Ghana for a little while, has now been visiting. Like everybody kind of converging, and it was a very interesting time because one, not all of them combined and have really spent time together, right? So there's dynamics that they're all learning of each other, right? And that's the one piece that I think the two pieces that I want to lift up is that one is that we don't always know each other. While we make assumptions about what each other like and what each other don't like, we often don't even take the time to really get to know really who each other are as our family, right? Really beyond like little cousin this or, you know, big mama this, like who are you, right? And that's step one. Step two is, and this may or may not be appropriate, but I was going to tell you anyway, like family is not always tried, right? And when I say that, I mean that not everybody in your family is going to roll in the same way as of folks that you really vibrate with, that are feeling the same frequency of love that you was talking about in that same way. And so being able to find and connect with folks that you just know that you are just rolling together. Like that's ride or die, for lack of a better phrase. You know what I'm saying? Even that, is a thing. But, just how do we really find and connect with folks who are really on that same vibration? And I think nurturing that, speaking to that, being clear about that, having time where you can really just speak your truth, take your mask off, like be yourself, and have and create safe space where, and safe being relative, is safe and courageous, it's safe and open, it's like safe that you can be vulnerable and folks not use that vulnerability and abuse that vulnerability and use it to come back at you later, but really create space where y'all can really see each other. And not all family is ready for that. And I'm just going to say that, you know what I'm saying? And that's a process. That's like what you got to build up to. Like you got to create the relationships, create the trust, create the time. Like Sway and I have been together for 20 years and we still learning new things about each other and loving those parts of each other that we get to share, right? We still building and creating, right? And so I don't think that time and family always equate to like, then this should be love. Right? Because everybody loves different. Everybody wants to be loved different. And their expression of love, like you said, is a lot of time is rooted in some of our pain, right? Just untethering those, having the level of self-awareness and that critical consciousness that you were talking about to kind of untether those components of our oppression that are really not, that are not our best selves. And how do we take those out of ourselves, like create a different meaning for ourselves to be able to help move us towards our highest space, right? So there's a little untangling that needs to, like entanglements we talk about, like there's a way to untangle ourselves from some of our experiences of oppression, right? So that we can then come to that pure space of our love to be able to move us forward.
But I also think it's just patience too. I just want to lift up patience. Absolutely. I think, sometimes, like you say, we want to share things because we want to see our people in a certain space. Mm-hmm. But then sometimes what I've learned is that's kind of what I want. That's kind of my own thing. And that's kind of why I get hurt. Because it's something that I want, not necessarily something they want.
Or that they need.
And that's not a part of their journey.
Yeah.
But the patience, right? I remember, I started my plant-based journey early, like, high school, Moms, pops thought I was crazy. You know what I'm saying? Brothers thought I was crazy. Now, most of their diet is plant-based now. I'm looking at them like, okay, well, I'm looking at you. You 90% plant-based now. I get it. Everything kind of caught up. Why you working with all them knuckleheads? My older brother would be on me forever. Like, why you working with them, them bad, you know what I'm saying? I just get an earful every time. Now it's kind of like respect. I see what you was doing. I understand the work. So, it took years, bro. It took humility. It took, But, I think that's why the Most High put you on the path because they know you can handle it. Yeah. They know that you got the resiliency to see it to the other side and be the example because that's really what sticks the most. No matter what I say, no matter what scripture, no matter what, you know what I mean? And honestly, my family can't really say much because they see how the children are thriving. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So that's also a piece to it. It's kind of like, all right, regardless of what they're doing, they must be doing something right. You know what I mean? They still together, the children are thriving. So it took some years, but they finally eased up and kind of understood, like, yeah, we're going to be different. I'm not trying to get too political, but the whole vaccine thing was big. Like, that was big in our house. And, family wasn't talking to us for a while. You know what I mean? And I told MIZAN, we kind of persevered, and it's like, dang, it looks like things are kind of normal again. Like, you know what I'm saying? And, we didn't get the vaccine. It was just kind of like, I don't know. But the family was ready to cut us off type thing. So, my elder told me, it ain't always about faith when the checks is coming. You know what I mean? Like, when the Most High real when them checks be coming and the blessings is falling, right? What about when it's just dark and it's like, man, I'm really feeling like I'm about to lose it right now. I'm really questioning, am I doing the right thing? Dang, am I sentencing my family to a death sentence? Dang, between the media, between everything else, I'll say the past 2 years was really like faith time.
Yeah.
Like, what do you believe in? What are you standing on?
Yeah.
What are you standing for? What are you trying to build?
what do you work for?
What do you
spend your time doing every single day, right?
Yeah.
COVID changed a lot of things for folks, you know?
So that, I think, was one blessing that came out of these past couple of years, was just that perspective. Like, dude, okay, yeah, things have to shift, because this ain't right. This ain't working, you know? But to answer your question, King, patience, man. I gotta lift up patience, because everyone at their own time. And I would just say, being that example is priceless.
Yeah.
Just stay your path, walk your walk, because that's always gonna speak louder than anything you could say.
Yeah.
Nah, that's echo. I want to go. That's love, man. So I want to go get a quick feedback, because I get the longer story, the journey, the patience. But like you were just saying now, like, yo, you looked at your partner, like, we made it through that, right? But it seemed like, what strategy you have for the moments? Like, when you like, damn, this is happening? Because sometimes if you ain't got a certain spirit, you don't even make it to the patience, right? If you ain't got a certain cosmo, a certain journey, you might say something, do something where it ain't no coming back or something. Like you can't. Like, so even though stuff is moving, like, because I think that's some of what I'm asking too, is like I understand the journey. Like, if you know, the sun always come out after the rain. You just gotta let the rain get through. But sometimes, at least in my own experience, like, and I think you hit it on the head too. You like, that's what you want. That be your expectations. But sometimes those moments, whatever is my expectations, or I'm feeling like, you know, the culture, the black love, we just moving in the wrong way, whatever. We can't be black and know where we go. I just feel hurt. So what do you be doing in those moments? Because sometimes it seems like what I hear you saying too, like, also being patient, mean like, I ain't gonna put myself in a way to get hurt. I'm gonna kind of put boundaries, and sometimes I know that's good, but I feel like we got a lot of boundaries in our family. That's why we don't be getting the healing too. I feel like it's hard, there be so many boundaries. Aunties don't talk. You don't know your cousin over here. We don't even talk about that no more. I don't know. We don't talk about it.
I'll stay in the house. You know what I'm saying?
You know, so I feel like we gotta push some boundaries, but I understand boundaries. But I feel like the boundaries in family is a different kind of formation, that it's part of the trauma. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out how you get in. It's hurtful sometimes.
Oh, well, let me ask one question. How old are you, King?
41.
Okay, so we kind of in that same age bracket. I feel like, you feel me, the patience feels different. So you understand what I'm talking about, right? I think it also comes with a certain level of maturity that you're hearing from me, a certain level of experience, because you've seen enough cycles.
Yeah.
But I think for people that are listening and to like give some tangibles, these are two tangibles I could give. I see what you're asking for. So let me get out the cosmos real quick and come down. You know what I'm saying? Let me come down here real quick. I think whatever your rituals are, they're important.
Yeah.
Your personal rituals. Once those start to teeter, I think you become vulnerable to depression. So let me speak for me. You know what I'm saying? Once I'm off my game, once I'm off whatever it is, because it does become overwhelming. Between trying to save community, save your family, save yourself, feed the people, this war, that war, George Floyd. I mean, it becomes overwhelming. So what rituals do you have in place? I get up at 4, I take a hike, I make sure this happens. This is in place. If your rituals aren't in point, you know, for you, my ritual is I wake up, I drink a Coca-Cola, and I have a cigarette. I do this. I don't care, whatever your ritual is. And that's why I lifted that up, because my elder always throw that in my face. But my uncle, he wake up, drink his Coca-Cola and cigarette, and he like 90-something. He's still doing it. That's because he's tapped into some ritual beyond being vegan, beyond anything else. He's tapped into self. So I think it's not always about all of this wellness practices that they be trying to feed us. It's really, once again, knowledge of self.
Yeah.
What
helps you feel powerful?
Yeah, what helps? I think that's the piece. Yeah. What helps you feel powerful? That's why I brought the ritual, because I feel like there's power in discipline. The more disciplined you are, I think that you feel more powerful. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I know for me, disciplined stomach, everything else falls into place. You know what I mean?
And we know that sugar addiction is no joke.
You know what I mean? All of these things.
All of us, though.
And then another simple practice, honestly, is breathing, bro. Mm-hmm. Like learning how to breathe. When I learned that from her, it sounds like some soft shit. It sounds like something like, But no, three deep breaths could actually change your life and change your perspective if done properly, with intention, with the intention of, I want to shift something. If you don't want to shift nothing, then there ain't really much you can do.
Yeah.
Right. So it also goes back to the intention to want to, like you say, change, to want to do something different. Like, it goes back to that.
To power up, to calm down, to do whatever it is that you need to do. Like, you get to create it and decide.
Yeah.
I would add, so in addition to the rituals and the breath, it's also about just retraining the mind, right? It's like we gotta, sometimes, like, our self-talk that we have in our mind, like our monkey mind, they call it, you know what I'm saying? It's like the you got the devil on one shoulder, the angel on another, like, it's talking to you, right? You got to just decide who you want to listen to and really train in your mind to listen to your higher self, right? And so one of the ways that we do that is through affirmations. One of the things that we created was this affirmations card deck. It's I Am Because We Are affirmation card deck. And this is designed for us to, like, retrain our mind, to, like, think about what it is that we really want to create. And you'll pull a card anytime you want to, or write your own, or whatever is real for you. But just retraining our mind to really think in the way that we want to think, to be able to create the powerful reality that we want to create. So,
I think one thing.
Live, man. I thought we was in the living room for a minute. I was about to say this about me. I was like, oh, we on live. I just forgot.
Yeah, we on live.
Yeah, man. I want to lift up one thing I've been noticing in the workshops as of late is just, I've been using the term practice. I think we need to practice more. We need to practice forgiveness. We need to practice listening. We need to practice certain things. So kind of when we step into these spaces, we're coming in raw, bro. We ain't practiced none of this. We want someone to give us an apology that ain't gave an apology in 30 years.
Right.
Like, I don't even know. Some of our expectations be unrealistic, King. Like, we have to practice that. What does it look like to say I'm sorry? Or, maybe it's not I'm sorry, but to apologize in a heartfelt way. What does it look like to be consistent? What does it look like to be vulnerable? What does it look? So going back to retraining the mind, I think a lot of it is creating spaces to practice. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to call them safe or whatever adjective you want to put on them. I'm just thinking spaces. Because if the spaces are enabling you to practice, if you could get down and open up in those spaces, then they must be the space for you. Yeah. Because like I say, now safe space ain't the word. Like, well, it ain't safe. How do you know that? Look, I ain't got time for all of that. I'm trying to create the space that's going to get us to a point where you feel comfortable enough to, open up. And be, like you said, the combination of being courageous enough to be vulnerable, right?
Speaking of practice, I'm gonna give you a
okay, we're gonna give you. Okay, we're gonna put it. Here we go.
Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Pick a number between.
Who, me?
Yeah, you. Yeah.
3.
3. All right. 1, 2, 3. All right. So this is your affirmation for the day. Is I am honest with the Creator, my family, my community, and myself.
I am honest with the Creator, with my family, with my community. I feel like I was definitely honest today, definitely.
Word up. That's it. So it's that kind of piece. It's just, and how do we put that in our minds? Some folks will be like, I can't stand liars, but they be lying to themselves all the time. You know what I'm saying? Or lying to other people. So I'm not saying you, I'm just saying, in general, we got to just have moments to remind ourselves. And that's all these are. It's just little reminders for us to practice a different way of thinking, a different way of being, so that we can really step into that, to that higher self that we want, Yeah.
Those rituals, I like how you said, if you don't do your rituals, you said, let me speak for I like how you, but I think that's a good line, man. That's how you go to depression, man. Also, because that's that consciousness of that consciousness, that's that self-determination. And like you said, it's a lot of psychological, spiritual wellness. If you could fight through whatever you're fighting through, to give that to yourself. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Give that to yourself. So thank you because I've been saying that the last week, I got to do my rituals. Particularly the one in the morning. So I felt like you definitely was coming my way. That was for me. And hopefully somebody else needed that too, man. But I think we're right on point with that.
Yeah. For sure.
What's up, Isaac? You want to choose a number?
That was for myself as well, King. Don't get it twisted. That was definitely reflection. Because like you say, I don't like standing here like from expertise. Like I tell MIZAN, I'm just here to share experience. Mm-hmm. This is kind of my life's experience. This is some gems I picked up along the way. Nothing here is absolute because I think everything is perspective. You know what I'm saying? And really, what works for you and applies for you. But I know when I know that I know I'm off, I'm not vibrating at my highest, and I'm susceptible to things like you say, like depression, like lack of focus, anxiety, just not following through. You know, negative comments affecting me in a way that, you know what I'm saying, instead of just really being on my square. So that's a personal thing. Yeah. You know, that has nothing to do with, that's my new line. That ain't got nothing to do with the white man. You know, I got to do here. Like real talk. Like that got to do with SIZWE. You know what I'm saying? And I got to really.
That's the war you, right? That's the war inside of us.
There you go.
Well, look, Isaac said he chose number 7. So this is his piece. I am releasing all negative beliefs and behaviors to make space for my greatness.
Oh my God. Okay.
That's you, Isaac. There you go.
I am releasing all negative beliefs and behaviors to make space for my greatness. Amen.
Hey, Shay. That's right.
Amen.
Yeah.
How can people get those cards and get connected to your work? Do y'all want to give us some websites, some links?
Yeah. Our website is actually under construction a little bit, but you can check out some of the work is SPIRITWURX.com, and that's spelled SPEARITWURX.com. And you can check out there. You can also see us on Instagram, SPIRITWURX Oakland, on Instagram, as well as you can email us, spiritworks@gmail. Before Black August is over, and just a shout out to that legacy of power and resilience and self-determination of that Black August is fueling in our work. We are activating our Experience Sankofa project. For those folks who might be on the West Coast, can come check out Bay Area status this Sunday, but then every second Sunday we'll be activating. You can see information on Eventbrite, experiencesankofaproject.eventbrite.com. You can check out information there. And these card decks will be up before the end of Black August, because folks have definitely been wanting them, and we're almost sold out. We're ready for the next iteration, next printing. So folks can definitely have these tools in hand to continue to create their rituals that'll work for them to bring about this intergenerational wellness and this racial healing that is necessary for us.
Yeah.
Give thanks for the time.
And I think that's an important thing. I just really want to lift up. You have to do what works for you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think there's collective work for sure. But if you're not doing what works best for you to make sure you coming 100% with your A, it's going to affect the collective, if you know what I mean. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So make sure that whatever that you fill in your cup, so to speak.
Yep.
Fill your essence, fill your cup, love yourself. You know, do what it is that's going to make you feel whole.
Give yourself permission to be all right, or to slow down, to rest. Like, rest is reparations, y'all. Like, you know, we need that. We need rest. And we also got to put in some work. So it's a balance of both, no doubt.
You were saying moving from the frenzy to the flow. You got to get to the flow. You got to get to some of that rest, baby.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Stay in that flow. Fuck the frenzy. Sorry, Facebook Live. Sorry, my bad.
So listen, I think their website is also, we can't really see y'all on Facebook. We in the Zoom world, but I think the link is on Facebook. Y'all seeing a link. Support our brothers and sisters. We come into Oakland, H.O.L.L.A, and our family in early January, late December. We're going to be out there for like 2 weeks. So we hope to see y'all while we out there. Shout out to our sister, Ayula. Shout out to Courage. Shout out to Urban Peace Movement. Shout out to all of our Bay, Central Cali brothers and sisters. I know we missing some people. We love you. We are only us. Because
I connected. You throwing some hitters out there. I'm like, okay, H.O.L.A connected out here.
Nah, those are our brothers and sisters, man. We've just been learning and building strong relationships. Those are families too, so we're not just throwing their names out. These people we study with, we share. We need to heal more together, but we've been healing together, and we respect, just how they giving us motivation. We hope we're giving them motivation, and we see y'all the same way. Like, we just trying to learn and motivate and just keep us strong for days that, we need each other. I would want to end with 2 questions if we could. This is beautiful, man. I feel like I don't really want to go to this question, but I kind of want to, I want to just go there, and then I'm gonna come back to kind of here. So the question I'm going to is like going back to kind of wellness, historical wellness, or thinking about how historical wellness is in conflict with, trying to get at historical trauma. Like, what stories, thinking about the pain, we can talk about the wellness, we want to go to the wellness, but thinking about whatever that means for the world, because historical trauma show up in mad ways, but what's some stories of victims? Can you talk about your personal life, your work, a movie you watched? Like, let us see historical pain, but let us see, like, what is moments of victories of that? What is like a scene of victory from historical pain that brings us wellness?
Oh, I mean, let's see how deep you're trying to close, right? So I'm not sure how deep we want to bust things all the way wide open. Let's see what's happening. Let's see.
Nah, because I was even thinking about like urban peace movement and courage, right? For example, there's many examples just in those organizations. I could just say those 2 organizations' names and say that's an example. For example, right?
Of both pain and triumph. Right?
You know what I mean? Like the work George is doing now. I remember George and MIZAN used to work together at like a youth center in Skyline High School.
Yeah.
So
okay, so I'm gonna say it. So George was my supervisor, and to be honest, George was like really preoccupied with doing his courage stuff. He hadn't really jumped it off the ground yet. It was kind of like doing a little bit of stuff, and he was kind of like playing with the idea of still being a supervisor for a youth center and like doing this gang injunction work and really trying to work with the young people in this way. And they were in conflict with each other. And to be all in transparency, like we were like, this isn't working. Like we need a supervisor who's present. Like we need somebody to handle these pieces. So, there's five other folks who are on the team, and we organized to get him fired. To be all honest, you know what I'm saying? Like that was part of our people power. But I'm actually really, really thankful that we did, because what it put in my mind, what we recognized was George needed to step into this space like fully, and he has been on purpose, like doing exactly what he wants to do. And that's the part, is like sometimes we do this work where we're like kind of just doing it because we gotta like make bills, and like we gotta do a little something, and we kind of like it, we can do it, we got a little skills here and there, but it's really not our purpose, right? And so I like proudly say, like, we organized to get George fired so he could get on purpose with what he's really supposed to be doing. And now Courage is like building this building that's fantastic, and it's like hired all these people, and he's been handling it. Like he's in alignment. So I'm just gonna say, in terms of like a real story of just finding a way to get in alignment with what you're supposed to do, what your gifts are to this world, is gonna help everybody around you as well and the people. You know what I mean? So yeah. I mean,
just shouts out to all the young people, countless young people that we taught that are now married, now have children, raising their families now, just based off, say, an example of MIZAN and I. You know what I mean? Like, if that was our contribution to this whole revolution, then I could sleep well at night. You know what I mean? Because the young people could see that it's okay to have healthy relationships. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's okay to, want to get married and create family and have your children thrive. Yeah. It's not for everybody. You know what I mean? I don't think it's, like I say, I don't think there's no one way. Mm-hmm. But I just think we need balance. Yeah. You know what I mean? In all that we do. So shouts out, like I say, to all the young people doing their thing, creating businesses, providing for themselves, not getting lost in this system. Yeah. So to me, that's a triumph. Yeah. I would say one of our biggest triumphs is holding our family together through all the work. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because there's many points that we could have just called it quits, or the children could have suffered, I could have suffered. And I think so often when you're in the trenches with the one that you love, it takes a toll on either the relationship, the work, something compromises. So I'm just thankful that we were able to make it through. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's kind of one of the biggest.
And now stronger. Yeah. Because of that.
It wasn't like I was working at tech while MIZAN was doing, we was making hella money and just had some time on our hands.
Lights been cut off, all of that, y'all. It's it's real deal.
It's been a journey. But like, thankful for it all. And, the Gen Rights are also another example. I would say, looking at the institution they built, looking at Now my brother's writing books. I mean, he's pretty much on a tour. He's like Jay-Z of the, you know what I'm saying? He like Jay-Z of the Healing Center world. You know what I'm saying? You dealing with Hova. You know what I'm saying? You over there dealing with Hova on speed dial. You feel me? So that's another,
Nah, that's beautiful. We go. My last question is going out on love, man. So any outer reflections, closing reflections that you want to you kind of was saying it, but any else you want to say on like how we just maintain our love, how we grow our love in our families, not just like you said, it ain't about husband, wife, it could be son, father, just what, black love, like what is some stuff you just want to give to our cosmos about love? We're gonna close on love.
I love it.
Practice being vulnerable with each other. Say what you really feel, not at the funeral.
Mm-hmm.
And don't wait for that moment when you can't say it. Practice saying it, because most times that blessing is on the other side of our fear.
Mm-hmm.
We just really be afraid to say it or afraid to engage in that conversation. Whether it's a release for you or if it can go into something deeper.
Mm-hmm.
I just think
to help you a transformative relationship.
Yeah. Just speak truth to power.
Yeah, I would add
in a way that's respectful. We got elders we dealing with.
Yeah.
Or we got relationships that might need a little more care, a little more
tenderness,
a little more surgical approach. Because I think that's kind of one thing. Sometimes when we're ready to heal, we think everybody ready.
And that's not our case.
Yeah,
I would just add on that same line, and even as a precursor to that, perhaps, is just be present. There's power in the presence, right? So being present with folks, like really hearing folks, really hearing ourselves, really seeing ourselves, and really hearing the universe and what the universe has to say for us, what our God self has to say to us, what nature has to say. What is that butterfly saying? What is the tree saying? I know that, like I say, that might sound like some West Coast craziness, but, folks have been listening to the elements for a very long time. So if we tap back in to what the elements have to say to us, to what our own voices have to say to us, there's power in the present. So use that power up, and spread that love, y'all. It's been an honor to be with y'all. Thank you.
Claim what's yours.
Yeah.
Get clear on what's yours and claim it. It's okay for you to have it.
Yeah.
Thank you. We seen some family in the background.
Yeah.
We got some stories about George, courage. We got black love. This is beautiful, man. This is definitely, I don't think I even went to the questions. I feel like I forgot I was on live for a minute. I've been on so many Zooms. I just thought we was building. So I forgot we was on live. Really, I hope we can see y'all when we come out there in January. I want to go to the museum. I want H.O.L.L.A to go through the workshop. I don't know if we can set up a time for H.O.L.L.A just to go through the workshop, or do we got to get more people? Everybody, we need to find this workshop. Find their website, they link. If you ever, I don't know if y'all travel with that or if it's just in Oakland.
Well, with the museum itself is here, but there's other work that we do that we definitely could travel with. So folks are interested. We do a lot of trainings and workshops with folks. So
I gotta find them, man. Find them. Connect with these peoples right here, and
but for selfish reasons, you should come on that second Sunday. If you're around the second Sunday in January or December, the museum's gonna be popping.
Yeah.
So with the second Sunday, either in January or December, it's gonna be a perfect time to be here.
We are there. Thank you. Once again, any closing words, any shout outs to the children, any events, anything to the ancestors, or y'all good?
I am because we are, y'all.
We
are because I am. May the circle be unbroken. We appreciate y'all. Thank you. Keep doing that work y'all doing out there with H.O.L.L.A. We see y'all. Appreciate your energy, your vibration. Let's keep changing this world, man. Give thanks.
Peace, Facebook. Thank y'all for being with us. Share the live. Shout out to H.O.L.L.A. Shout out to Alex, A-Rocks, D. Marissa, Blackguard Lab, the YOC. Shout out to our legacy. Shout out to my son, my moms, my wife. We are definitely needing black love in our family. And they are also just, journeying and taking a lot from just the struggle that I'm in and that we all in. So we are trying to absorb some of this black love from this Facebook Zoom. We're trying to bring it in our homes and our hearts. I hope you all got some of this black love. And I hope we able to give some black love back to you all and your family too. Peace, everybody.
Receive. Give thanks, y'all.